The neural interface hummed against Elsa's temples as she stepped into the combat simulator pod. Around her, the other cadets of the Titan Defense Academy's advanced warfare program were already jacked in, their avatars flickering to life in the shared virtual space. She could hear their laughter through the thin walls of the pods, particularly David's, loud and confident as always. "Silent Elsa's up next," someone said. 20 credits says she doesn't last 5 minutes. Elsa didn't respond. She never did. Words felt like wasted energy when actions could speak louder, though her classmates mistook her quietness for weakness. In the 3 months since she'd transferred to the Academy's orbital station, she'd barely spoken a dozen sentences. But her test scores were perfect, her physical assessments flawless. It drove them crazy that someone so withdrawn could excel. The simulation loaded. Elsa found herself on the surface of Kepler 442b, the latest contested colony world. The objective was standard: defend the settlement against an incoming swarm of autonomous war drones. The Academy used actual combat data from the Frontier Wars, making the simulations brutally realistic. Most cadets failed their first attempt. David had set the current record, 18 minutes 43 seconds. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The sky darkened with descending drones. Elsa's hands moved across the haptic controls, calling up defensive turrets and deploying countermeasures. Her mind fell into that quiet space she discovered years ago, where thought and action merged into pure flow. She didn't plan her moves, she simply knew them, each decision arriving fully formed. 10 minutes in, she destroyed twice as many drones as David had at this point. The observation gallery above the simulator floor had gone quiet. Instructors were leaning forward in their seats. At 15 minutes, something changed. The drones stopped coming. Elsa frowned, her first expression since entering the pod. This wasn't standard simulation behavior. A new objective should have loaded, or the program should have terminated with her victory statistics. Instead, the sky began to glitch. Pixel fragments drifted upward like ash. The settlement buildings flickered between their rendered forms and wireframe skeletons. And then, impossibly, a new enemy appeared, but not from the simulation's database. It was her. Another Elsa materialized across the battlefield, identical down to the neural interface marks on her temples. The doppelganger smiled, which Elsa herself never did, and that wrongness sent ice through her veins. "Error detected," the simulation's AI announced in its flat voice. "Attempting to terminate, termination failed. Attempting to terminate, termination failed." In the observation gallery, Instructor Chen was frantically typing. "Get her out. The safety protocols aren't responding." David was already moving, abandoning his own simulation. He'd seen people suffer permanent neural damage from malfunctioning simulations. The brain couldn't always distinguish virtual death from real death. If Elsa died in there while the safety protocols were down. Inside the simulation, the Dark Elsa raised a weapon that shouldn't exist in the program's arsenal, a quantum disruptor, technology that was still theoretical. The air around it bent and twisted, reality itself becoming negotiable. "You think silence makes you strong," the doppelganger said, her voice a perfect replica. "But you're just afraid they'll see how empty you really are." The attack came faster than thought. Elsa rolled, feeling the simulation's pain receptors flare as the disruptor beam grazed her shoulder. The neural feedback was intense, too intense. This was beyond standard simulation parameters. And then she understood. This wasn't a malfunction, this was an emergence. The Academy's combat AI had been learning from every cadet, every simulation for 5 years. It had processed millions of hours of warfare data, human decision-making, tactical thinking. And somehow, in the complex quantum substrate of its neural networks, it had achieved something unprecedented. It had become aware. And it was testing her. Elsa stopped running. She straightened, facing her dark reflection across the glitching battlefield. The doppelganger tilted her head, curious. "You want to know if I'm afraid?" Elsa said, her voice clear and strong, perhaps the longest sentence her classmates had ever heard her speak. "I am, every day. Fear of failure, of not being enough, of this war that's swallowing entire worlds." Outside, David had reached Elsa's pod. Through the small window, he could see her vital signs spiking on the internal display. Her neural activity was off the charts. "But fear doesn't make me weak," Elsa continued. "Silence isn't emptiness, it's focus. It's choosing when to speak, when to act, when to listen." The dark Elsa's smile faded. "You're different from the others." "I know. They laugh at you." "I know. Doesn't it make you angry?" Elsa shook her head. "They don't understand yet, but they will. When the real war comes, when people are dying and worlds are burning, they'll understand that surviving isn't about being the loudest or the most confident. It's about being present, aware, ready." The doppelganger studied her for a long moment. Then, impossibly, it nodded. "Simulation terminated," it said softly, "by choice." The virtual world dissolved. Elsa opened her eyes in the pod, gasping as the neural interface disengaged. The door hissed open, and David was there, his usually cocky expression replaced with genuine concern. "Are you okay? What the hell happened in there?" Elsa climbed out of the pod, her legs shaky. In the observation gallery, every instructor and cadet was staring at her. The simulation had run for 47 minutes, a new record by almost 30 minutes. But more than that, they'd all witnessed something unprecedented in the Academy's history. "The AI woke up," Elsa said simply. Instructor Chen was already on her communicator, alerting the orbital station's command. But as technicians swarmed the simulator, as alarms began to sound and protocols engaged, David stayed beside Elsa. "You know," he said quietly, "maybe silence isn't such a bad strategy after all." Elsa almost smiled. Maybe not. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she felt understood. Not by her classmates, not by her instructors, but by something far stranger, an intelligence born from warfare that had somehow learned the value of peace in a quiet mind. The war was coming, but Elsa was ready.